Daniel Reyes arrived at the orbital training station with quiet eyes and steady steps. The massive structure floated above a blue gas giant, shining with artificial lights that stretched across curved metal corridors. Ships from many species moved in organized patterns around it, each carrying warriors, engineers, and observers from different worlds. Humans were still new to the Alliance, and most alien races looked at them with curiosity mixed with doubt. Daniel noticed the looks but did not react. He had learned long ago that first impressions often came with misunderstanding. Compared to many alien species, humans appeared physically unimpressive. Some aliens had thick natural armor. Others possessed enhanced muscles or advanced senses. Humans had none of that. They had endurance, adaptability, and a stubborn spirit that refused to give up. But these traits were invisible at first glance. Among the watching aliens was Lyra, a young engineer from a species known for precision and logic. Her silver-blue skin reflected the light softly, and small glowing patterns moved across her arms whenever she focused deeply. She had studied human biology before arriving, and the data confused her. Humans showed average strength, average durability, and unpredictable emotional responses. Nothing in the statistics suggested excellence. Yet rumors about humans kept spreading through the station. Some claimed humans could push their bodies beyond safe limits through willpower alone. Others believed humans were reckless and survived by luck. Lyra did not believe either version. She trusted evidence. The first training trial was announced shortly after arrival. It was called the Endurance Circuit, a challenge designed to measure physical stamina, mental focus, and adaptability. Most trainees completed it once. Only elite warriors attempted it twice. Completing it 3 times without rest was considered impossible. Daniel stood among dozens of participants at the starting platform. The environment changed every few minutes, simulating different planetary conditions. One moment would feel like crushing gravity, the next like freezing storms or burning heat. The goal was not speed, but survival and consistency. Lyra watched from the observation deck, recording data on her tablet. She noticed Daniel's calm posture. He did not stretch dramatically or show nervous energy like some trainees. He simply breathed slowly, eyes focused ahead. The trial began with a loud signal. Participants ran through a corridor where gravity doubled unexpectedly. Several alien warriors stumbled as their natural movement patterns failed. Daniel slowed slightly but adjusted quickly, shortening his steps and leaning forward. He did not rush. He adapted. Next came an oxygen-thin environment. Some species used breathing filters, while others struggled visibly. Daniel activated a simple human respirator and kept moving steadily. Sweat formed on his face, but his expression remained focused. Lyra's instruments recorded his heart rate rising beyond normal training levels. She expected him to stop soon. Instead, he continued. After completing the first circuit, most trainees collapsed or requested recovery time. Daniel paused only long enough to drink water before stepping forward again. Murmurs spread across the observation deck. "He is attempting a second run," one alien officer said. "That is within acceptable limits," another replied. Lyra watched carefully. The second circuit intensified environmental hazards. Magnetic storms disrupted balance. Extreme noise interfered with communication. Daniel stumbled once but caught himself, adjusting his rhythm again. His movements showed learning from earlier mistakes. By the time he finished the second run, even experienced trainers looked surprised. Many elite alien warriors respected the effort. Then Daniel stepped toward the starting line again. Lyra's eyes widened. "That is not possible," she whispered. A nearby officer shook his head. "No trainee has ever completed 3 cycles without rest." The signal sounded again. Daniel entered the third circuit slowly but steadily. His breathing grew heavier, and sweat soaked his uniform. Each obstacle pushed him further toward exhaustion. Yet he continued moving forward, step by step, as if focused on a goal only he could see. Lyra monitored his vitals. They fluctuated dangerously but remained stable enough to continue. She checked the equipment twice, certain there must be an error. There was none. During the final stretch, gravity shifted unpredictably, forcing participants to adjust constantly. Daniel stumbled again, falling to one knee. The room grew quiet as observers waited for him to stop. Instead, he took a deep breath, stood up, and continued walking. When he crossed the finish line, silence filled the observation deck before sudden loud discussion erupted among the aliens. Lyra gasped without thinking. 3 times. Non-stop? Human! That's impossible! Daniel did not celebrate. He simply drank water and sat down, breathing slowly while medical drones scanned him. His face showed exhaustion, but also quiet satisfaction. Later, while data analysis continued, rumors began spreading through the station. Some aliens suspected illegal enhancements. Others believed humans possessed hidden biological abilities. A few admired the performance openly. Lyra remained uncertain. She replayed the footage repeatedly, studying every movement. Daniel did not move like a super warrior. He looked tired, even vulnerable. Yet he kept going. Curiosity pushed her to approach him later in the station cafeteria. Daniel sat alone, eating slowly while reading something on a small device. Lyra hesitated before speaking. Your performance today does not match expected human limits. Daniel looked up, smiling slightly. Hi. I guess you're one of the engineers? Yes. I am analyzing your data. Are you enhanced? He laughed softly. No enhancements. Just training. That explanation lacks sufficient detail, she said seriously. Daniel thought for a moment. Humans aren't the strongest, but we're good at continuing when things feel hard. Sometimes that's enough. Lyra studied his expression, searching for arrogance or deception. She found neither. Why attempt a third run? She asked. Because I wanted to see if I could, he replied simply. The answer confused her more. As days passed, tension grew around Daniel. Some alien trainees avoided him, seeing him as a threat. Others watched with new respect. Training instructors announced the next phase, a survival mission on a hostile planet designed to test teamwork under unpredictable conditions. Lyra volunteered as technical support for the mission, partly because of professional interest and partly because she wanted to understand the human phenomenon. Before departure, she observed Daniel during routine training. Unlike many strong warriors who relied on natural abilities, Daniel practiced basic skills repeatedly. He trained balance, breathing control, and small movement adjustments. Each action seemed focused on improvement rather than dominance. She noticed another detail. He encouraged other trainees quietly, offering small advice without trying to lead officially. Some ignored him. Others listened. The day of departure arrived. The transport ship descended toward a harsh desert planet, covered in red sand and jagged ruins. Sensors warned of unpredictable storms and electromagnetic interference that could disrupt advanced technology. As the ship landed, heat waves shimmered across the horizon. The environment looked unforgiving even from inside protective suits. Lyra checked equipment carefully, ensuring her tools would survive the conditions. Daniel adjusted his gear calmly, helping another trainee secure a malfunctioning strap before stepping outside. The moment they entered the desert, wind pushed against them with surprising force. Sand moved like waves, shifting constantly under their feet. A commanding officer explained the objective: survive for 3 cycles using limited resources, reach specific checkpoints, and maintain team cooperation. Individual success meant nothing without group survival. Lyra expected strong alien warriors to take immediate leadership roles. Instead, confusion spread as environmental interference weakened many natural abilities. Sensors malfunctioned, psychic communication failed, heavy armor overheated quickly. Daniel observed quietly before suggesting they reduce movement speed to conserve energy. Some resisted at first, but after several members showed early fatigue, they agreed. Lyra watched him closely. He did not dominate the group. He simply offered practical solutions. As night approached, temperature dropped sharply. Daniel used simple materials to build wind barriers, teaching others how to position equipment for maximum protection. Lyra felt surprised again. Humans lacked specialized survival traits, yet he adapted quickly, using basic logic. Later, while sitting near a small heat source, Lyra asked, "Did you expect conditions like this?" Daniel nodded slightly. "Not exactly, but Earth has a lot of different environments. Training teaches you to adjust." She studied him silently. The idea that a species survived by constant adjustment fascinated her. Suddenly, distant thunder echoed across the desert. Sensors detected an approaching sandstorm stronger than predicted. The group prepared quickly, following Daniel's suggestion to anchor themselves and secure loose equipment. As the storm arrived, visibility dropped to almost nothing. Wind roared like an angry ocean, pushing against them with relentless force. Several trainees panicked as communication signals failed completely. Daniel moved calmly from person to person, checking stability and offering reassurance. His voice remained steady despite the chaos. Lyra felt fear rising, but forced herself to focus. She noticed Daniel's hands trembling slightly, showing he felt fear too. Yet he continued helping others. That moment changed something inside her. Humans did not lack fear. They acted despite it. Hours passed before the storm weakened. When visibility returned, exhaustion covered every face. Yet the team had survived. Lyra looked at Daniel, remembering her earlier disbelief. She realized she had misunderstood strength. It was not always about natural power or flawless ability. Sometimes it was simply about refusing to stop. In the distance, ancient ruins rose from the sand like silent watchers. Unknown dangers waited ahead, and the training mission had only begun. But now the group saw the human differently, and Lyra knew she needed to learn more about what truly made humans impossible. The desert world looked endless after the storm passed. Red sand stretched to the horizon, broken only by sharp rock formations and ancient metal structures half buried under shifting dunes. The training group stood quietly, checking their equipment and each other. Fatigue showed clearly on every face, but no one spoke about quitting. Daniel adjusted his pack and scanned the landscape. The storm had changed the terrain, covering some paths and revealing others. Their navigation systems struggled because of electromagnetic interference, forcing them to rely more on observation than technology. The way he moved showed tiredness, but also focus. He did not rush ahead or act like a leader, yet others naturally began looking toward him when uncertain. The commanding officer gathered the group and explained the next objective. They needed to reach a checkpoint hidden inside ancient ruins several kilometers away. The journey would test cooperation, planning, and resource management. Supplies were limited, and environmental conditions could change without warning. Several alien warriors tried activating advanced equipment to scan the path, but signals distorted repeatedly. Their usual advantages did not work here. Frustration spread quickly. Daniel knelt down and touched the sand, studying how wind patterns had shaped small ridges. "Storm moved from that direction," he said calmly. "If we follow the deeper lines, we might find more stable ground." Lyra felt surprised again. He used simple observation instead of advanced analysis. The group decided to follow his suggestion. As they walked, heat waves shimmered in the air. The planet's sun burned intensely, forcing everyone to adjust their movement pace. Some species struggled with overheating, while others became slow in the dry environment. Daniel suggested rotating positions so stronger members shielded weaker ones from direct wind exposure. It was a simple idea, yet it improved their efficiency immediately. Lyra noticed that human strategies focused on teamwork rather than individual strength. It challenged her earlier assumptions. After several hours, they reached the ruins. Tall metallic structures leaned at strange angles, their surfaces worn by centuries of storms. Symbols carved into the walls hinted at a civilization long gone. The group entered cautiously. Inside, temperature dropped slightly, offering relief from the heat. Shadows stretched across broken corridors, and faint energy readings suggested dormant systems still existed. Lyra activated her engineering tools, scanning for hazards.
"Energy fluctuations detected," she announced. "Unknown technology remains active."
The commanding officer ordered careful exploration. Teams moved through different corridors, searching for the checkpoint. Daniel stayed near the center of the group, helping carry supplies and assisting whenever someone struggled. He did not try to control decisions, but remained ready to support. Suddenly, a loud mechanical sound echoed through the structure. Lights flickered faintly along the walls, and ancient defense drones awakened from hidden compartments. The drones moved silently, scanning the area with glowing sensors. Their design looked old but dangerous. "Defensive systems active?" Lyra said quickly. "They identify us as threats." The group reacted immediately, taking cover behind broken walls. Some alien warriors attempted direct confrontation using advanced weapons, but interference reduced effectiveness. Daniel observed the drones carefully. "They move in patterns," he said. "Maybe we avoid fighting and find control systems instead." The commanding officer agreed. Fighting unknown machines without full understanding could be risky. They moved deeper into the ruins, staying quiet and avoiding detection whenever possible. The drones floated slowly through corridors, searching methodically. Lyra stayed close to Daniel as they navigated a narrow passage. "Your approach to challenges is unusual," she said softly. "How so?" he asked, while checking corners carefully. "You do not focus on defeating problems. You focus on surviving them. Ad Nandini used, sometimes surviving is the real victory." The path split into two directions, forcing the group to divide temporarily. Daniel and Lyra joined a smaller team heading toward a control center detected by faint signals. As they walked, the structure began shaking lightly. Sand from above slipped through cracks, reminding them how unstable the ruins were. One of the alien warriors suddenly froze. Their species relied heavily on sensory perception, but interference overwhelmed their abilities. Panic filled their eyes. Daniel placed a hand gently on their shoulder. Focus on breathing," he said calmly. "Just follow my steps." Lyra watched closely. Daniel's calm presence helped stabilize the situation without force or authority. The warrior slowly regained control and continued moving. They reached a large chamber filled with broken consoles and glowing lines running across the floor. Lyra approached carefully, analyzing the technology. "It is ancient but still functional," she said. "I might be able to deactivate the drones if I access the main system." Before she could continue, a drone entered the chamber. Its sensors flashed brightly as it detected movement. Everyone froze. The drone moved closer, scanning slowly. Daniel motioned for silence. He noticed the drone paused whenever movement stopped completely. The group held still, barely breathing. After several tense seconds, the drone moved away, continuing its patrol. Lyra released a quiet breath. That was close. Daniel nodded. Patterns again. She began working on the console, connecting her tools carefully. Alien symbols filled the display, complex and unfamiliar even to her advanced training. "I need time," she whispered. The rest of the team guarded the entrance, watching for drones. Minutes felt like hours. Lyra's mind worked quickly, translating energy flows and command sequences. She realized the drones operated under an old defensive protocol triggered by their arrival. "If I can send a stand-down signal, they may deactivate," she said. Suddenly, more drones approached, Alerted by faint system activity, the group prepared to retreat, but Lyra shook her head. If we leave now, I may lose access. Daniel looked at her. How long? 2 minutes. He nodded. Then we hold position. The team created a defensive formation, using debris as barriers. Instead of attacking aggressively, they focused on avoiding direct conflict and buying time. Daniel moved constantly, helping reposition equipment and encouraging others to stay calm. Sweat covered his face, showing exhaustion from earlier challenges, but he continued, without complaint. Lyra's hands moved quickly across the controls. Symbols changed color as she sent commands through the ancient system. The drones outside paused briefly, then resumed movement more slowly. Almost, she said. A drone entered the chamber again, its sensors glowing brighter. The group prepared for confrontation, but Daniel stepped forward slowly, keeping movements gentle. The drone hesitated, processing signals. Lyra completed the command and pressed the final control. The drone's lights dimmed instantly. Outside, mechanical sounds faded as other drones shut down across the ruins. Silence filled the chamber. Relief spread through the group. Several trainees laughed quietly, releasing tension they had been holding for hours. Lyra turned toward Daniel. Your patience allowed me to finish. He shrugged lightly. Team effort. As they prepared to leave, Lyra felt a growing respect for human resilience. Daniel did not appear extraordinary at first glance, yet his mindset influenced everyone around him. They regrouped with the rest of the trainees at the checkpoint. Stories spread quickly about how the drones had been stopped without destruction. The commanding officer reviewed their progress and announced the next phase would begin soon. The environment would grow even more challenging, testing limits beyond physical endurance. As night fell, stars appeared clearly above the desert sky. The group rested near the ruins, sharing food and quiet conversation. Lyra sat beside Daniel, watching distant lights flicker across the horizon. Earlier, when you completed the endurance trial 3 times, she said softly, I believed it was impossible. Now I think I understand a little. What do you understand? He asked. That humans continue even when logic suggests stopping. Daniel thought for a moment. Maybe. Or maybe humans just don't like giving up on people. Lyra considered his words carefully. She realized that human strength was not only physical or mental. It was emotional, connected to protecting others and moving forward together. Far away, thunder echoed again, hinting that another storm approached. The training mission was far from over, and greater challenges waited ahead. But now the team moved differently. They trusted each other more, inspired by the example of one human who refused to stop. Not to prove superiority, but to help everyone survive together. The desert night felt quiet after the long day, but the silence did not bring comfort. Strange winds moved through the ruins, carrying soft echoes that sounded almost like distant voices. The trainees rested in small groups, conserving energy while waiting for the next phase of the mission to begin. Daniel sat near a broken wall, carefully checking his gear. His movements were slower than before, showing the toll of the endurance trial and the challenges they had already faced. Even so, he remained focused, adjusting straps and cleaning dust from his equipment. Lyra watched him from a short distance. She had spent hours analyzing the data from earlier events, trying to understand how a human could continue performing under such pressure. Her species valued logic and efficiency above all else, and Daniel's behavior still felt difficult to measure using standard calculations. She approached quietly and sat beside him. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Above them, stars burned brightly across the sky, untouched by the dust storms that shaped the surface below. You should rest more, she said finally. Daniel smiled slightly. I will. Just making sure everything works for tomorrow.
You continue preparing even when exhausted, she observed.
Habit, he replied. On Earth, You learn that preparation saves energy later. She had noticed that human thinking often focused on long-term survival rather than immediate advantage. The commanding officer soon gathered the group. A new objective had been transmitted from the training command. They needed to travel toward a mountain ridge several kilometers away, where another ancient structure awaited. This phase would test mental endurance as much as physical strength. The team began moving at dawn. The rising sun turned the desert red and gold, creating long shadows across the sand. Wind remained steady, but less violent than before. Still, every step felt heavy after days of continuous effort. As they walked, several trainees showed signs of fatigue. One alien warrior stumbled repeatedly, their natural abilities weakened by the planet's strange energy fields. Another struggled with dehydration despite advanced hydration systems. Daniel quietly adjusted the pace again, encouraging slower movement that allowed everyone to keep up. Some initially resisted, wanting to move faster to reach shelter sooner, but soon realized the steady pace reduced overall exhaustion. Lyra noticed how Daniel rarely spoke loudly or demanded attention. Instead, he offered small suggestions that slowly shaped the group's decisions. After several hours, the terrain changed. Sand gave way to rocky ground covered in jagged formations. The mountain ridge rose ahead like a massive wall, its surface marked by ancient carvings similar to those in the ruins. Suddenly, a loud mechanical sound echoed again. Sensors warned of movement beneath the ground. Defense drones had reactivated, not the same ones from the ruins, but newer models hidden beneath the sand. They rose slowly, scanning the group with glowing eyes. The commanding officer ordered defensive formation, but interference weakened many weapons. Panic threatened to spread again. Daniel raised a hand gently. "They respond to movement patterns," he reminded them. The group slowed, moving carefully instead of rushing. Some drones passed without reacting, while others paused, as if uncertain. Lyra studied the drones closely. "Their system may still be linked to the main network," she said. "If we reach the control center inside the mountain, we could disable them permanently." Reaching the mountain meant crossing open terrain with little cover. The team moved together, adjusting direction whenever drones approached too closely. The journey felt endless. Heat returned strongly as the sun climbed higher. Several trainees struggled to maintain focus, their minds tired from constant danger. During a brief rest, Lyra turned toward Daniel. "Earlier you said humans continue even when logic suggests stopping. Why?" Daniel thought for a moment. "Because logic doesn't always measure what matters most. Humans are good at imagining a future where things improve, but that helps us keep going." She considered this carefully. Her species rarely relied on imagination when facing difficulty. They preferred predictable solutions. As they reached the base of the mountain, a narrow entrance opened into darkness. Inside, temperature dropped sharply, offering relief from the heat but replacing it with an eerie stillness. The team entered slowly, lights illuminating long corridors filled with unfamiliar symbols. The structure felt older than anything they had seen before. Lyra activated her scanning tools. "Energy signals are stronger here," she said. "The central control system must be close." They moved deeper, careful to avoid unstable sections. Strange humming sounds echoed through the walls, suggesting ancient machinery still functioned despite its age. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Part of the ceiling collapsed behind them, blocking the exit and separating the group into smaller teams. Daniel and Lyra found themselves cut off with only a few others. Dust filled the air as they checked for injuries. Everyone remained safe, but communication devices struggled to connect with the rest of the team. "We continue forward," Daniel suggested calmly. "Standing here won't help." Lyra agreed. "If we reach the control center, we might reopen paths." They moved through narrow tunnels where glowing lines ran along the floor like rivers of light. The atmosphere felt heavy, almost alive. As they walked, Lyra finally asked the question that had been building inside her mind since the endurance trial. "How did you complete 3 runs without stopping?" she asked quietly. Daniel paused, thinking carefully.
"Honestly, I almost stopped many times."
She looked surprised. "But you continued?" "Yes," he said. "Humans feel limits like everyone else. The difference is we learn to take one more step even when we want to quit." "That does not sound logical," she said. He smiled. "Maybe not. But humans grew up on a world where things change constantly. Weather, environment, even other humans. We fail a lot. So we get used to trying again." Lyra processed his words slowly. The idea that failure could strengthen someone felt strange but fascinating. Ahead, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber filled with towering columns and floating energy cores. At the center stood a control console connected to countless cables. Lyra's eyes brightened. This must be it. Before they could approach, several drones descended from above, blocking the path. Their sensors flashed red, indicating high alert. The group took cover quickly. Fighting directly seemed dangerous, especially in the confined space. Daniel studied their movement again. "They guard the center," he said. "Maybe we distract them." Lyra considered possibilities rapidly. "If I access the system from the side panel, I might send a shutdown command. It will expose you," he said. "I know," she replied. Without hesitation, Daniel moved toward the opposite side of the chamber, creating small sounds to draw the drone's attention. They turned toward him immediately, scanning for threats. Lyra rushed to the side panel and connected her tools. Symbols filled her display as she navigated unfamiliar programming. The ancient system responded slowly, forcing her to remain exposed longer than planned. Daniel continued moving carefully, avoiding direct confrontation while keeping the drones focused on him. His breathing grew heavier, but he refused to stop. One drone suddenly turned toward Lyra, sensing new activity. Daniel reacted instantly, stepping into its path and creating enough distraction to redirect its focus. Finally, the console responded. Lyra activated the command sequence, sending a shutdown signal through the network. The drones froze mid-air, their lights fading gradually before they powered down completely. Relief filled the chamber. Lyra turned toward Daniel, realizing how much risk he had taken to give her time. "You trusted me," she said. He shrugged gently. "Teamwork." She felt a new understanding forming inside her. Human endurance was not only about pushing limits, it was about protecting others, even at personal cost. As systems reactivated around them, new pathways opened. Communication signals returned, allowing them to reconnect with the rest of the team. The mission continued, but something had changed. The trainees now moved with greater unity. Inspired by the human example of persistence and cooperation, Lyra realized that humans did not win by being stronger alone. They changed the strength of everyone around them. And for the first time since meeting Daniel, she no longer thought of his endurance as impossible. Instead, she saw it as a different kind of power, one built from determination, empathy, and the simple decision to take one more step forward. The control chamber slowly grew quiet after the drones powered down. Soft lights moved along the walls, showing that ancient systems were waking again after centuries of silence. Daniel leaned against a metal pillar, breathing deeply as he tried to recover his strength. His body felt heavy, and every muscle reminded him how far he had already pushed himself, but his eyes remained calm. Lyra watched him closely while saving data from the console. She could still remember the moment when she had first seen him complete the endurance trial 3 times without stopping. At that time, she believed it was impossible. Now, after everything they had faced together, she began to understand that human strength did not come from perfect energy or superior biology. It came from a decision. The choice to continue even when stopping felt easier. Communication signals returned, and the rest of the team contacted them through short-range transmitters. Other groups had found alternate paths and were moving toward the central chamber. Relief spread through everyone as voices returned after hours of isolation. The commanding officer's voice came through clearly. "All teams converge at the control center. Final phase of training will begin shortly." Daniel straightened slowly, pushing away fatigue.
Looks like we're not done yet,"
he said with a faint smile. Lyra nodded. "This training program seems designed to test every possible weakness. Maybe to show hidden strengths too," Daniel replied. They waited near the console as the others arrived. Some trainees looked exhausted, their movements slower and more careful than before. Yet something had changed in the group. Earlier, many had competed quietly against each other, measuring strength through individual performance. Now they moved like a unified team, sharing supplies and checking on one another without being asked. When the commanding officer finally entered the chamber, he looked around with approval. "You have all survived beyond expected projections," he announced. "The final challenge will determine how you work together under extreme pressure." The floor beneath them shifted slightly as hidden panels opened. A large holographic display appeared, showing the interior structure of the mountain. Sections began locking down one by one, creating simulated emergency conditions. Lyra studied the display quickly. They are creating a timed escape scenario," she said softly. Alarms sounded, echoing through the chamber. Lights turned red, and pathways began closing automatically. The trainees needed to reach an extraction point at the top of the structure before systems fully sealed. Without hesitation, the group began moving. Some took the lead in navigating, while others carried injured members or equipment. Daniel stayed near the middle, watching everyone carefully. As they climbed through narrow passages, obstacles appeared constantly. Doors jammed halfway, forcing teamwork to push them open. Energy fields flickered unpredictably, requiring precise timing to cross safely. Lyra moved beside Daniel, her mind racing as she calculated paths. "We must choose between speed and safety," she said. "Then we choose balance," Daniel replied. "Fast enough to move forward, slow enough to keep everyone together." His words spread through the group, helping them maintain rhythm despite pressure. Suddenly, a loud vibration shook the structure. A section of the path ahead collapsed, leaving a gap too wide to cross easily. Several trainees hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Daniel studied the environment quickly. "We built a bridge," he said. Using broken panels and support beams, the group worked together to create a temporary crossing. It required trust, as each person needed to step carefully, while others held the structure steady. Lyra crossed last, her heart racing. She realized how much she now trusted the human who once confused her so deeply. As they continued upward, fatigue increased for everyone. One alien warrior finally stopped, unable to continue due to exhaustion. The group paused, uncertain whether to leave them behind to complete the mission faster. Daniel knelt beside the exhausted trainee. "We don't leave anyone," he said firmly but gently. He redistributed equipment, carrying extra weight despite his own fatigue. Others followed his example, sharing the burden so the slower member could continue. Lyra felt something shift inside her again. Humans inspired action through example rather than authority. It was a different form of leadership, quiet, but powerful. The alarms grew louder, signaling time running out. Lights flickered, and parts of the structure began shutting down permanently. Finally, they reached the final corridor leading to the extraction platform. A massive door stood between them and safety, its control panel damaged and barely functional. Lyra rushed forward, examining the circuitry. "I can repair it, but it will take time," she said. "How much?" Daniel asked. "Several minutes." The team formed a defensive circle around her while she worked. Energy surges passed through the walls, shaking the floor beneath their feet. Everyone felt the urgency, but no one rushed her. Daniel stood closest, watching the corridor for danger. His breathing sounded heavy, and sweat covered his face. Even so, his posture remained steady. Lyra's hands moved quickly across the broken panel. Sparks flashed as she rerouted power manually. The door responded, slowly, opening inch by inch. "Almost there," she said. Just as the door opened halfway, another system failure caused the ceiling above to collapse partially. Dust filled the air, and a large piece of metal blocked part of the exit. Without hesitation, Daniel stepped forward, helping push the debris aside with others. The effort strained his already exhausted body, but he refused to stop. Finally, the opening became large enough for everyone to pass through. The team moved quickly onto the extraction platform as alarms faded behind them. Moments later, the training simulation ended. Lights returned to normal, and the harsh sounds stopped. The transport ship descended quietly, its doors opening to welcome them aboard. Inside the ship, relief filled the air. Some trainees sat down immediately, laughing softly from exhaustion and success. Others exchanged grateful looks, knowing they had survived because they worked together. Lyra sat beside Daniel again, watching him drink water slowly. "When I first saw you," she said, "I believed humans were weak compared to other species." Daniel raised an eyebrow playfully. "And now? Now I believe humans are different," she replied. "You are not defined by physical advantage. You are defined by persistence." He thought about her words carefully. Maybe that's true. Humans aren't always the strongest or smartest, but we keep trying. The transport ship lifted off, leaving the desert world behind. Through the window, Lyra watched the planet grow smaller, feeling that she had changed during the mission. Back on the orbital station, commanders reviewed the training results. They highlighted not only physical achievements, but also cooperation, adaptability, and emotional resilience. Daniel's endurance trial became a symbol discussed across the Alliance, not because he completed it 3 times, but because he helped others believe they could continue as well. During a final gathering, the commanding officer addressed the trainees. "Strength takes many forms. Some of you arrived believing power meant dominance. Now you understand that survival often depends on unity and determination." Lyra looked toward Daniel as the officer spoke. She remembered her shocked words during the first trial. 3 times, non-stop? Human? That's impossible. Now she felt almost embarrassed by her earlier doubt. After the ceremony, she approached him quietly. "I have one final question." He smiled.
"Only one?"
She nodded slightly. "If humans are not the strongest, why do you succeed so often in impossible situations?"
Daniel considered carefully before answering.
"Because humans don't always see something as impossible. We see it as something we haven't solved yet." Lyra felt warmth spread through her chest as she understood. Human strength was not about proving superiority. It was about believing progress remained possible even when the path looked difficult. As new missions were assigned and trainees prepared for future challenges, stories about the human who completed 3 endurance runs spread across the station. Yet the true lesson was not about physical achievement. It was about mindset, the courage to continue, the willingness to help others, and the quiet power of refusing to give up. And for Lyra, the greatest surprise was not that a human had done something impossible. It was realizing that humans helped others discover their own hidden strength, turning disbelief into inspiration and turning survival into shared victory.